All right, hi, welcome back. If you made it back, if you didn't, where you at? um, today, I'm gonna make a three-part series. Um, there might be more down the road, but just misconceptions about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Um, um, and this is just stuff that I we just live in a day and age where misinformation is just as easy to get, if not more easy to get, than actual information on our church specifically. Um, the market has been saturated with years, for years, um, by people who don't want people to join our church. And I'll just say right now, while I do want people to join my church, my videos aren't necessarily tailored towards making it so that you join the church. Like, I'm not trying to convince people. I'm just sharing. Um, a good example of this is that we're a cult. A lot of people say that we're a cult. I know Joe Rogan says it. But we're not. We're not a cult, unless you're going to count every church as a cult. And what I mean by that is that we do match some definitions of the word cult, but not the negative ones. For example, and I'll just list off some things here that we don't do that a cult of any kind would. So number one, we're not checking up on our members to make sure that they're doing what we want them to do. So like if you're gonna be like, hey, you're brainwashing people, yeah, we're not checking up on that. if you quit following the commandments, there's no one coming like knocking on your door being like, I noticed that you stole some potatoes today. You know how we feel about that. That it's entirely an honor system as far as sins. Like, so they expect you to go in and report yourself. There's other videos we can talk about reporting about sins and stuff. Another thing would be like we're not like instructing our members to do particular things. Like, we're not like we have advised members to do things. So like, for example, food storage. The church advises that all members, and anyone really, not just members, but they advise that you have a food storage of at least 1 year. This isn't because we're preparing for some cult event. This is, like, it's nothing like that. It's just a good thing to do. And that's all there is to it. It's one of those situations where, and I've fallen into this trap a few times, where it seems like they're like, hey, get your year food storage. You need that year food storage, and you're like, oh, what's gonna happen? And honestly, nothing's gonna happen. It's just a good thing to have. You never know what's gonna happen in your life. You could lose your job, your car could break down, there could be crazy weather, you could lose your there is all sorts of stuff that can happen, where that food supply would come in real handy. And unfortunately, just like I do not have a year supply of food at my house, so don't come thieving my house. Anyway, so yeah, like, there's just, we teach people to be peacekeepers. We teach people to follow Christ. Lots of churches do similar things, although they would definitely strongly object to me saying we're the same. And we're not the same. but like, cults don't do stuff like that. And we're not keeping secrets from the members. That was a thing. And not by any fault of ours. We're not keeping secrets from the members. In fact, the church is trying their best to publish all available information we have right now, especially on Joseph Smith, the translation processes. we are very transparent on what the church knows and what our average members should know. We are not trying to hide information. And I am an average member, so I guess I can't say I know for like, but trust me, like we're not. There's not there. They do take extremely extraordinary efforts to preserve things, and they do have vaults that they preserve family history information in. They're not like the Vatican. They're not hiding like stuff in there. They are preserving, and yeah, there's just not a secret cabal going on. I've even some people have even told me that the church membership has like a secret cabal that controls things like Facebook. Even like they have people that are going through and controlling Facebook comments somehow. It's like last I checked, Mark Zuckerberg wasn't a Zuckerberger would be a good one. wasn't a good wasn't a member of the church. He wasn't in cahoots with church leadership. The planet thing, that's another one. We do not receive planets. There is no doctrine that says we receive planets. People have taught it. It has come across the pulpit a few times. It has been taught in classes. It is not an official doctrine. It's one of those things where some people started a rumor or some people had a theory and a lot of people liked it and it became a thing. We believe our real doctrine is that we believe we are co-heirs with Jesus Christ, just as it says in the Bible, in Romans, or maybe Acts. I'm not sure, but like we're pretty like we're not believing that we receive planets. There's no planets. And then there's the other thing, like the eternal family. We don't know how that works at all. At all. We do not know how that works. We do not know how God had spirit children. We don't know what process that involved. In fact, most of our scripture seems to suggest that we were co-eternal with the Father, our intelligence was, and that he created the entire plan in order for us to be like him. A good analogy for that is that God is the oak tree and we are the acorns. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that before, so I'm not going to go into detail on that. Another one, Jesus being created, we don't believe that. That falls into that same category. We don't believe Jesus was created. We believe he's co-eternal with the Father. We believe he's the God of the Old Testament, that he made the earth and everything in it, and everything that's in the heavens. That does not necessarily mean he made it out of nothing. Creation is not, the verb creating does not mean to make out of nothing. It means to organize materials into something. That has always been the definition of creation. And that is definitely what the Hebrews meant by that. So we are not creation ex nihilists. I may have just invented that word. And then one last thing I want to touch on is that the Book of Mormon replaces the Bible. It does not. We do not believe that. We believe in the Bible. A lot of you have probably heard this analogy, but I'm going to say it again. The gospel, if you have a plank of wood and the Bible is a nail, if you have one nail in that plank of wood, you can spin the wood any direction you want and have it be whatever you want it to be in that plane. So like the Bible restricts things, but it's the only book of scripture available to some people, and they can take that and get alternate meanings out of it that maybe weren't intended. The Book of Mormon acts as a second nail that makes it so that you cannot move the board in different directions. And then our Pearl of Great Price is a third nail that just adds stability to the whole thing. We do not believe in a closed canon. We do not believe that that God has stopped speaking to us. We believe that God can still speak to us today. We believe that more scripture could be added at any time by our prophet and by by God. He would be in charge of that process. But we do not believe in the closed canon. So what I'm saying is that we could add more nails to that board at any time. Not that that's going to happen, but some of our revelation has said that in the last days, specifically during the millennium or right before, more knowledge would be revealed. Especially the Book of Mormon. Little known fact here: there was a sealed portion of the Book of Mormon. It's not a little known fact among members, but I would imagine the non-members don't know about it that much. But there is a sealed portion that was never translated, and it's what we've been told by our prophets and by Scripture is that when the Lord sees fit, that sealed section will be returned to the earth and translated by someone who has the authority to do so from God, not from man. And that and then we could receive more Scripture from the Book of Mormon even. I'm excited for that. I definitely. But that being said, every time I read the Book of Mormon, I find new information in it, and I learn something different, which is something we're probably going to end up talking about on this channel as we go down the road. So yeah, those are just some main doctrinal misconceptions. I have another video already made about the history and another video about perfectionism. And one last key thing is information literacy. If you are going to study our church, study information literacy. Make sure that you can authenticate sources before you take them as truth. Besides that, I'll see you in the next one.